Hey guys, so we're finally back with American Horror Story Season 12 Delicate Episode 4 titled The Vanishing Twins. Guys, I cannot stress this enough. This season has been on a roller coaster to becoming my fourth or third favorite best. Definitely Apocalypse and Coven is still up there for my top two, but this is becoming one of my top three, and I'm shocked to even say this. This episode had so many good elements of horrors. I think this is a 10 out of 10. And then for creepiness and imagery, I definitely give it 100 out of a 90. A 90 out of 100. This was an amazing episode into the American Horror Story anthology, and I will explain why. I love when American Horror Story finds ways to add physical characters with fictional characters and fiction characters. It's always a cool thing for me. So the season opens, the episode as well as the season overall to me has been amazing. So this episode 4 called Vanishing Twins opened up on the Hampton Courts, England in 1555. This was an amazing scenery, and I love when the American Horror Story take things back and bring literature as well as real life things into perspective, in a bigger perspective. We even saw that when they did that to even in Murder House, when they showed um Romanovs as well as the different Anastasia's family, how she in the American Horror Story world, she was considered a witch, and that she was persecuted. She was trying to use something to protect her family, but it never worked out. So this time, I love how they focus on the real life characters and gave them new um expansion. Like for an example, the episode focused on the England during the time of Queen Mary the First of England, as well as her predecessor, which will be Queen Elizabeth the First. Now, this episode was so amazing. Like I said, I love how they use the characters and they try to portray the literature and the literacy of that time and the imagery. They captivated this episode so damn well. I'm just in awe. This will be a two-part of the it will be a two-part of the season I'm gonna cover. So this is part one of my episode 4, and then there will be a part 2 which is covers the rest of the episode. So this episode I really wanted to focus on the first couple of things before they went to opening credits. So we saw it's like a medieval background, right? The dark tone imagery, and we hear someone screaming, yelling, and there's like horses coming, and they're traveling, and horses are coming near that way, and I'm assuming this is basically the knights and the medieval guards of that time. And like I said, flash forward the M10's court, England in 1555. And I love how when we tie those things back into the American Horror Story timeline, this might be a connection between Coven as well as Roanoke, which is freaking amazing because we knew that Roanoke happened during the reign of Queen Elizabeth, when the Scaffage was basically the first supreme at that time, if I'm not mistaken. So we see that a young version of Queen Elizabeth the First is walking and trying to go to near the chambers of Queen's Mary, and people are following her as she walks inside the castle. She's like talking, is like, where's everybody, who's aiding the queen? So the queen at that time is Queen Mary, and everybody was like, no, everybody had to stand by because the mistress or the highness says nobody enters the chambers without permission. And everybody's asking who is delivering her baby. So I'm guessing like the maids are trying to figure out who is helping the queen deliver the baby. And this episode is so important that I think there's so much to cover that I'm gonna cover. It's insane. So when everybody's arguing, or they trying to figure out who is trying to help out deliver the child, comes and walks Queen Elizabeth the First, and she started asking about, where's the where what is going on, who's taking care of who, where's people that's like supposed to be helping her sister. And one of the people said that um the queen doesn't want anybody to disturb her as she's in labor. And she said she's not anyone, she's the sister of Queen Mary. So I love this scene, which is being played right now, which shows the dedication of how they portraying the times of this season. Like I said, this is giving me Apocalypse. It's giving me Roanoke. Is giving the Coven vibes. So this is an amazing part of this episode. I think they captivated the time well with the way that people were dressed in high Victorian. They had the Shakespeare look, and she says, "Open the door," as she walks right in, and she said, "Let me open the door, you leave me," so she could settle things with her sister. So as she walks in, we see something that is very, very disturbing. She walks in, she turns around, she starts smelling. As she smells something, it feels like something foul in the air. And she's like trying to figure out, she says, "Sister, or Your Highness, like, do you need any help? Like, do you need any, like, person to like help you, aid you with the whole thing?" So this is the Queen's Court, which is sometimes called like the Queen's Place, like her personal room, um, while she's giving like labor. So as Queen Elizabeth the First approach her, young Queen Elizabeth, as she's portraying as, approach her to like her quarters. We start seeing that she's approaching slowly but surely. She's looking at the ground, she's looking at the side, and she said, like, "Sister, are you in pain? Like, do you need help? Do you want people to come in to like assist you with the whole process?" And sh- as we get closer, we start hearing the dark imagery. The sound of the is very eerie, and then you have these little crib. I don't know who award her with like the crib. The crib have something written on it, and I forgot to mention on the third episode. I forgot to mention that inside of the cave that Anna was in, somebody was writing Latin, had the Avid Satanis on there, which is really just basically praising the devil basically. And it shows like this entire group of people are like cults, and it's freaking crazy. And this is also an origin episode too, because we got to get a reveal of how Queen Mary lost her child, which is was supposed to be the firstborn. And the sister got scared because like the blood is falling on the floor while she's like pressing her stomach, and basically said like the baby's a demon, or it's a monster. And the sister is basically saying like, "How is this happening and you're still like in the process of giving birth?" Like, she got so scared, she said like, "I can't show you this child, like the child is evil, like everything about this child is evil." And you see that, out of nowhere, she said like, "If I show you what the child is, you're gonna either be frightened or you're gonna be running away." And then you just see this, the entire baby face is covered. The creepiness that comes into this episode started like, you started hearing the same whispering that Anna was hearing when she was walking near the tunnel inside the basement of the cave. And she started hearing all these sounds, and she's looking around the entire room. She said, "Are you with anybody in this room?" And you start hearing the same gibberish whisper. And then, I don't know, from the walls of the house or the room, two shadows like intertwined came down, in some weird way. It's like they use the, what's that technique from Coven? Transmutation to appear like in the room. And while she's like saying like her baby and everything, either she's being controlled or this is like full extent of what's been going on. So as she's been looking around, she's hearing more and more sound. You start seeing the shadow figures. I'm assuming they start popping up like one at a time. Like it's crazy what these characters are able to do just by being in their presence. And this is some scary stuff because we trying to figure out from the third episode where did these characters came from, and then automatically they both appear at the same time in front of Queen the future Queen Elizabeth. And while Queen's Mary is like trying to praise her child, like trying to see if the baby is like alive or anything, the two I would say, I'm not sure if they're fairies, but they're definitely like witch type of, they're definitely witches. They both shows up, and this time they dress slightly different, but I guess this was like their like original clothes. And they both appear behind Elizabeth and approach the bed of Queen's Mary. And as they approach, they reveal their faces. The one that plays Coco St. Clair and Valerie, they're both the Vanishing Twins. So their identity was revealed. So they've been here since centuries. This would be considered century. They're like at the same time as I would say the Scavenge, because the Scavenge from what we saw from Roanoke was around 1555 or 1515. They came in around 1555, which is roughly around 20 or 25 years later. And they both saying like finally we come to collect, I guess they came to collect her dues. And then Elizabeth's looking around like what is going on. And Queen's Mary's like, oh, that's my baby. He's like, no, it's our baby. Like they made a understanding of that. And then she was like, yeah, one of these days you will do the same thing, but it's not your time yet. That's literally what they told Elizabeth. And she said, no, for 6,000 years he is now trying to be born. So I'm guessing they're trying to resurrect either Michael Langdon or even something worse. And they just took the baby, which is even more shocking. They took the baby and said that, this was the trade. You have a prosperous reign as queen, but in return, we need your baby. And, there's nothing you could do about it. This will be another collection towards our dark father, basically what they said, which is even more crazier because now you're saying like how long have they been doing this and collecting the perfect specimen, which I think Ryan Murphy did mention that those black pills have a connection through this season and future season. And I would not be surprised if the season ends on 13th season, which will combine the entire American Horror Story as a whole. This was an amazing, and I can't stress this enough, this was an amazing episode. And I think that this was the first part of my episode 4. I will be pulling out episode 4 part 2, and then we will close out episode 5 sooner or later after this. Guys, this episode had so much juicy content and feedback, and like so much like it had so much information that we need. We have so many things to talk about. We know that now, we could honestly say now, the twins are basically the twin Vanishing Twins. They grant wishes in some way, but they come to collect once you make that wish with them. They're very similar to like Papa Legba. Also, we have to get back into the present timeline to see what has been going on with Anna. This is an amazing episode. It's a 10 out of 10. just for the short part of the opening of the episode. See you guys for part 2. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.